Since '85 we've stood our ground, though trophies passed us by. From Craven Park to Wembley Way, with East-Hull grip we fight. Now we rise, our heads held high, proudly wearing the red and white.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are reputable East-Hull-based car specialists and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members. Welcome to a very special edition of the Robin Pod, where we celebrate the HU9 history makers, Hull Kingston Rovers. The Robins are Super League Grand Final champions for the very first time and join an elite club of teams, defeating Wigan Warriors under the lights at Old Trafford on Saturday night. It's the perfect ending to an unforgettable season, a treble-winning campaign that's seen the Challenge Cup, the League Leaders Shield, and now the Super League Trophy all make their way back to East-Hull. In this week's episode, we'll dive into the big talking points from the grand final, the key moments, the heroes, and the legacy that this team has created. We'll also discuss what this triumph means for the long-suffering supporters who stood by the Robins through thick and thin, and we'll look ahead to what the future might hold for Willie Peters and his men. Plus, we'll be tackling your questions in question time and reflecting on what many people are calling 1/8, if not the greatest Hull KR side to ever wear the famous red and white jersey. Sit back, crack open something celebratory again, and join us as we relive the glory of a truly historic season for the Robins. We've got a great panel of Robin supporters on this week's Robin Pod. Bazza, I tell you what, we'll come to you first, mate. I'm still struggling to comprehend what's happened. It's not that long ago we were in the depths of despair, and then we're at Old Trafford on the greatest stage, potentially seeing our side win the grand final, and not only win the grand final, win the treble.
Yeah, it was an unbelievable night, mate. And I just remember screaming and shouting throughout the game, cheering the boys on. But when full time come and reality actually kicked in, I just sort of stood there in silence, like I wasn't jumping about like the rest of the Rovers fans. I don't know. It felt like I was just taking it all in. I felt a little bit shell-shocked. I was even thinking back to that cold October night in 2006 in Warrington, mate, when we got promoted, and I thought that was the pinnacle, that for me. And of course, then when we went to beat on Wakefield in the first Super League game, I thought that was it. We've made it. We're in the big time, you know. Did I ever think I'd see this day? No, I didn't. Grateful that I have. Love to see it again. Be surprised if I do in my lifetime, you know, being a Rovers fan. We've had to wait best 40 years for a trophy, but yeah, incredible. Again, I've watched the game back twice now, and I think I've watched every podcast there is available on YouTube. Sorry, it's still sinking in, and yeah, it's unbelievable to be a Rovers fan at the minute, mate. Incredible.
Yeah, James, I'm sure, like every other Rovers fan, your playlist at the moment is full of We Are the Champions,
yeah,
Simply the Best, Red Smoke, Penny Arcade. It was really funny. We put on at home, we put on a playlist on the speaker, and it brought up, do you know what song it played? The 2015 version of Erasure.
Really?
You know, yeah. But do you know what? Actually, for me, it's quite emotional because it was quite a symbolic. 10 years ago, we had potentially at the time one of our greatest moments in terms of recent history, in terms of the Challenge Cup final and getting there, and we had the chance of winning it, and we got absolutely battered. But there's a lot of resonance about that song and the fact that 10 years later we're able to use that song in a positive manner, because a lot of Rovers fans don't like that song as well because of the memories it brings back. But to hear that version of that squad singing it, and it was just sort of something like, you know, when just triggers in your mind, just goes, God, what a journey that has been from that moment there, and 10 years later to see the Robins not only be in a grand final, Challenge Cup final, to lift the League Leaders Shield, to be in what I think I said on the last Robin pod, to be in like 11 of the 11 semi-finals and finals, and what a journey it actually has been. And I think that's why, James, the grand finals is a culmination of so many emotions for so many supporters, because it is quite a short journey that we've been on to achieve what we have done.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just like Baz said, I just couldn't believe it. You know, you dream about it, and I remember after the won the League Leaders Shield, walking out the ground, feeling a bit flat, thinking, well, actually, got to start it all over again now. And thinking, if we've gone through 27 rounds, get to the semi-final, win the semi-final, and then to not win it at Old Trafford, you're thinking, it's just, we've got to do it all over again, and we might never get another chance. But we didn't. We won, and it's just like, hasn't it sunk in yet? It still hasn't. But today I put a post out and applaud somebody about Bradford getting the Super League, and I said it's probably written that the champions are going to be sent to Bradford to start defending their title. And I thought, that's us. We're the champions. We'll be defending our title next year. We'll be defending the league leaders. We're defending the Challenge Cup. Like I said, from where we were 10 years ago, and that day, on 1st of October 2016, when we got relegated, to even consider being at Old Trafford, never mind once, but twice, and then winning it. It's just unbelievable. And I was thinking about going back in other sports. What would I compare it to? And then two things came up. One was Nottingham Forest in 1978, I think it was, winning the First Division Championship the season after they got promoted from the second division. And the other one was Leicester City when they won the Premiership 10 years ago. I think it was for me, is that seismic. And obviously, I hope we don't go down the Leicester City route, but it was just such a, I think for the game, just a shock. And, people talk about it'd be great for the game if another club wins it. And it has. We have. We're one of 5 clubs to actually win that trophy, one of 5 teams to actually win the treble. It's just stuff for dreams. Stuff for dreams.
Yeah, and Carl, I mean, we had the pleasure of being able to share that magic moment on Saturday at the grand final. Of course, we've been stood together on the terraces of the East End watching the Robins. I said to you, didn't I, at the time, about, God, we were still on the terrace when Salford, Gareth O'Brien scored that drop goal, and the depths of despair, and then to be stood together to watch, the ultimate victory, really, to real seal the deal in terms of what this Robins side has done. You can understand why there's so much emotion, Carl, around this result, because so many people have invested in the Robins this season. And this is also a tribute, ultimately, Carl, to people who... Right, this is crazy. We saw 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪, who many people know, listening to this Robin pod and watching it on YouTube, who's always in front of the East End. He's always talking to people. He's always there. He's always... everyone knows him. And we stood in our seat, where we were stood in the East End, Carl, and we saw him sat at the front, and he was still doing it again. He was acting like he was in the East End at Rovers, and he was doing the same thing at Old Trafford. And that's when it sort of brought home to me about just the magnitude of what we're doing. And what's been great is, like I said, this result is a nod to people who have gone before us, people who have done the hard yards, the people who have put the money in the pocket, whether that's be sponsors, owners, supporters. This is a culmination. And like I said, Carl, you can understand why it's so emotional to so many people that the Robins have actually sealed the deal and actually done the not only won a trophy, but done the treble. It's crazy.
Yeah, excuse me. I think it's a testament to the people who have sort of grafted and kept the club afloat early doors, you know, and eventually we've reaped the rewards of those people you've just mentioned. I mean, Hadj is a legend in his own right, isn't he? I mean, God knows how he got from one end of the ground to the other and not got stopped. I mean, he was all over the shop, wasn't he? I mean, just like you say, it was literally like he was at Craven Park, literally walking right the way all four corners of the ground. But yeah, people like him and the people that are no longer with us, you know, our parents, godparents, grandparents, multiple generations of people who have not seen the success that Rovers have obviously not had in the past recently. And for it to all come out this year in a treble, I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. And James and Baz are right in what they're saying. You know, I'm the same. It pretty much hasn't sunk in yet. And you keep seeing clips online and you're like, yeah, we are actually the champions. And we're not the champions by luck. We've gone 27 rounds of Super League game. We've finished the most consistent team. And then we've done a job on the champions from the previous season. And they literally won the quadruple last year, did Wigan. So for us to beat them in that style in the grand final and really put a marker down and say, look, we are literally the benchmark now. It's so impressive, and it's a credit to you, Willie Peters, and especially Neil Ujul and Paul Aiken, and them guys who have projected the club in the last couple of years and got the lads on the field and the performance staff into position to be able to do what we've done this season. And when we was on them terraces on Saturday, I mean, when that final hooter went at the end, I think I had my hands on my head and I was just sort of like, is this sort of happening? It was just like, because we've never experienced that feeling before. You're sort of in awe and you're thinking, you know, is it time to get up for work or something along them lines? So yeah, it was absolutely incredible. And let's just soak it all in these next few weeks, months. And for me, when the new season starts, we can go around boasting, can't we? We can, you know, that's why we're the champions. We can say whatever we want, and then hopefully we can back it up again next year with some form of reward.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, let's dig into that game, Bazza, because as good as the result was, it was a nervy opening, 15, 20 minutes. We saw a knock on from 𝗪𝗓𝗔. We saw Tom Davies knocking on from that Kieran tackle. We saw Jared Ward-Hargreaves giving a penalty away. And then we saw the Bevan French no try. So it wasn't plain sailing, was it? Because seasons gone by, sorry, we'd have seen the Robins under the pump early on. The weather the storm, but them opening 15 minutes was, you know, it was a bit of a worrying time, really.
Yeah, 100%. And you go back to like what Willie Peters has always alluded to in these big games. You get a few moments in a big game, and you need to waste them moments. And it was really, really uncharacteristic of Wigan. Like Liam Farrell knocking on, you know, 9 times out of 10 any other day, it'd have caught that. But you go back to the Bevan French one, that was dedication from Mikey. I think he had Mikey in his eye line, and obviously the in goal at Old Trafford a lot shorter. So obviously he's got Mikey in his eye line, he's going at full chat. You know, he's going to go into them billboards, and Mikey did enough. And you know, if Mikey wasn't there, would he have grounded it? I'd have said possibly, but it's just the pressure that Mikey put on him, and it's that work ethic, that commitment that's being instilled into the players. And we saw it in the Challenge Cup with Dean Adley, never giving up, them 1%ers jumping on loose balls, and that's what Mikey did, and never give it up, and did enough to put Bevan off. And I think it's them big game moments that Mikey's been accused of going missing in the past, but he stood up and he made a very good account of himself, especially in defence. But more important than that, he backed it up in attack. You know, when Wigan went down to 12 men, Mikey just backed himself, but he wasn't going for the glory plays every play. It was a team effort, and he ran the ball at the right time and at the right, the right moments. And it was just an all-round perfect performance. I dare say we'll go into the game a bit more, but the three guys I was majorly impressed with was Dean Hadley, James Batch, and Elliot Minchella. Because I don't know if you've seen the stat, John, but 42% of the tackles 𝘀𝗂𝗃𝗏 made come from them three men combined. That's three men completing nearly half the tackles in that game, mate. And that is that's commitment, that them boys left nothing on that field on Saturday. And people said about us limping over the line. I'll be the first to admit we did limp over the line, that league leaders, but I always felt comfortable after that break we'd be all right. And again, we showed it against St Helens, and then at Old Trafford. And you're right, that first 10 minutes, I think we was a little bit shell shocked. I think Wigan played us at our own game, trying to blitz a team. But like I say, they didn't ice the moments, and they paid for it massively, because we didn't go into our shell like we did last year. Last year we went into our shell. We didn't play our own game, and this year we was totally different. We didn't bottle it. We didn't let Wigan get in our head. We had a couple of warning signs, and we didn't panic. We kept our composure, and that was the main thing. And that's why we really built momentum throughout that game. It was a dream performance. Willie Peters says there's never a perfect performance, but for me that comes close to it. Very close.
Yeah, no doubt, Baz. And we know you're not afraid of the limelight, hence why he was on Sky Sports. So it's a good opportunity to give somebody else a chance to speak now about the but Baz made a good point, because he mentioned a point about that 1% effort, and it was mentioned at the Play of the Year Awards. It's been mentioned so many times throughout the season. So when we'll look back to the Challenge Cup victory and we talk about the 1% effort, the 1% effort is Davies going over for that, because nobody expected him to make that extra effort to get the ball on the ground. For me, Lewis's effort in terms of tackling tackling Bevan French was just as important in terms of the game on Saturday as that Davies effort to score the winning try. Because at that point of the game where the Robins had been sort of, like you said, a little bit nervous, that try goes in, and then all of a sudden Wigan get that sort of puff the cheeks out, the chest come out, they're starting to, that's a massive effort. And Mikey Lewis has been accused, sometimes rightly, a lot of times wrongly, of going missing in games. He showed up like Bazza said. But that moment, I think that moment was really key for how the game then went on for the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched it back a few times now, and it was just a phenomenal effort. I think he probably hadn't done, like I said, 9.5 times out of 10, French puts that ball down. But Mikey's there, and he just does enough to put him off and dislodge the ball. But I think even before then, when we were probably being a bit nervous, a bit under the pump, just struggling to make the yardage, I was just so impressed with Mikey's defence overall. Even before he got to Bevan French, he just seemed to be just really going about it. And I was looking at this thinking, yeah, we're looking now, so we've dropped the ball, but we're still in this, and we're actually defensively, we were fine. Mikey was just sort of, he was putting about in defence. Sure, he wasn't prepared to be intimidated and say, look, I've got to earn the right to actually put my attacking players on here. And he just went for it. And I think that was, for me, was the whole game was probably one of the most impressive things about his performance. Obviously we know what it's like, ball in hand, etc., and running, and his kicking game, etc. But for me, it was his defence. It just looked so solid. And I think, if any Wigan forwards, I thought they'd be able to run him and running into the ground and batter him and knock him out and knock him off his stride. I think, on Saturday, they had no chance.
Yeah, there's no doubt there was left wanting. And I think when you look at key moments, I mentioned one there, Carl, about the Mikey Lewis tackle on Bevan French. if you look at the a couple of the other key moments, 𝗂𝘂𝗍𝘆𝗿𝗀 coming on for Mickey McAlorum after 17 minutes. And then a minute later, there's the sin binning of Brad O'Neill. I mean, it was a terrible tackle, wasn't it? As soon as it happened, I had people texting me saying, if that was a league game, it'd have been sent off. What do you reckon, Cal? I think for a grand final, it was the right decision because sometimes we get blinkered as supporters, don't we? We look from. I think if that was, I don't know, 𝗂𝘂𝗍𝘆𝗿𝗀 making the same tackle, I'd want the same outcome as what Brad, because yeah, it was a bad tackle, but it's a grand final. What was interesting is Brad O'Neill's reaction. He was sort of smacked and like he was quite cocky about what he'd done, and then obviously then there was a melee afterwards. But 𝗂𝘂𝗍𝘆𝗿𝗀 coming on, and then that subsequent yellow card for Brad O'Neill, I think that's where the game really started changing for the Robins.
Yeah, it definitely flipped it on its head. I think, like you say, we made a couple of knock-ons early doors, and then as soon as that moment came around, I think I said to you at the time, Chris, didn't I? We need some points on the board while they're down to 12. And luckily, 𝗂𝘂𝗍𝘆𝗿𝗀 came on, sped the game up, got a quick ruck speed, and we got out of there quick, and we sort of made most of them extra spaces in their defensive line. So it wasn't a coincidence that happened. 𝗂𝘂𝗍𝘆𝗿𝗀 came on, and we sort of picked up a little bit, and we got the points off the back of that. What I would say is regarding Mikey's performance, I thought it was a very mature performance. Last couple of semi-finals, etc., with people have over criticised him maybe because he hadn't turned up, but now he's got them big game experiences under his belt. I thought he blossomed really well, and he showed a very mature performance, and deservedly so with the Rob Burrow Award. So credit to him. And yeah, I just thought from that point onwards. I mean, Rovers of old. I'm not saying I was 100% confident at that point would go on and win the game, but the way we was defending and the numbers that Min, Chella and Adley and the other boys were kicking out in terms of tackle and work rate, I thought that would be enough to get us over the line, and eventually that's what happened. We backed our day, we kicked into the corners, and eventually we got what we deserved, and rightly so.
Yeah, and Bazza, if you look at the try from Mikey Lewis, I mean, like Carl said, we need to capitalise on the fact that they got a yellow card, and what a way to do it as well, because it's an absolutely fantastic try, wasn't it? We've seen Mikey Lewis do it so many times this season. We've seen him so many times be tackled as well, but to be able to, on the biggest stage of all, in a grand final, he absolutely glided through. And he's been doing it all season, hasn't he? He's an absolutely fantastic play. It was an absolutely fantastic try. And do you know what? I think it was justification for Mikey just in terms of how he's been playing this season, what he's brought to the side, and to see him score a try like that on the biggest stage was absolutely brilliant. And it was a real pivotal moment, wasn't it? Because we needed to score that points at that time, because like Carl said, if we don't, you don't know when the next points will come.
No, absolutely, John. That's bang on that. But Mikey's come up in for some criticism this year. A lot of it, it's not been justified. It's been quite unfair, and that's the thing with Mikey. And especially in that game, the way he took his try, he did it at the right time. And he saw the space and he backed himself when there was actually something on. And that's what I mean by how Carl alluded to, like, the maturity. Whereas, before you'd see him try and take the line on when it genuinely went on. But he saw that Liam Farrell was off balance, and he turned him and Bevan French inside out and pretty much repaid Bevan for what he did to him last year. So, no, justification for Mikey. For me, there's nobody else on that field who deserved that more. Anyone who deserved that any more than he did, because I'm just so happy for the lad, just for the grief that lad's had, and he's only 24. It's totally unjustified. So I think that should put a lot of doubters to bed, because the media are running into it about Mikey's performance and this, that, and the other. I just love the way he's shut them all up. But not only that, he's done it in style as well. With that try, with his But there's attacking kicks in that game that was pinpoint into the corners, and pinning Wigan back. So yeah, mate, he's we're going to see good things from him. And I don't know if he's going on to the Ashes, mate, but he should be nailed on starting alongside Harry Smith for me. Nailed on.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Baz, what's really interesting, I've just picked up on, you said about backing yourself, and my eldest, the reason many people won't know why this podcast has been recorded later is because I've been at rugby training with my eldest. And that Michael Lewis try was a great advert to kids who play rugby about backing yourself. If you've got the pace, you've got the power, go for it. Go for it. You will never... Don't stop. Don't wait. Go for it. Because the worst thing that'll happen is you'll get tackled. But if you don't go for it, you'll never ask the question. And it was a real great advert for young kids just to go for it, express yourself. You know, and I think hopefully there's a lot of people, a lot of young kids who were in that stadium, of course, because the great thing about the grand final is it really is an occasion for families, all ages, to be there. I really hope that people have seen that, and especially young kids who are playing rugby league to go, do you know what? Go for it. Because Michael Lewis went for it and he got his reward. And ultimately, he got his reward as not just as a player, he got his reward for his team. James, there was a really important moment as well where Jared Waugh-Hargreaves and Dean Hadley, they smashed Liam Marshall, didn't they? And they forced a knock on. And that's where the screw for me really started turning tight, because you could see the Robins really gaining confidence. And Jared Waugh-Hargreaves in particular had a fantastic stint in that opening, I think it was 30 minutes that he was on. You know, but that's where the screw really turned for me.
Yeah, it was. And it was just... I think, you know, going back to the O'Neill incident, I think it was almost like that sort of turned a switch in Rovers to sort of say, we're not going to be intimidated. You know, you think you can do that.
Game on. It was almost like game on.
Yeah, game on. And then it was almost like, say, the switch was turned on, Mike scored a try, and then you just say, where are Hargreaves? I mean, it was just like, you know, what he was like in his prime, you know, going back 5, 8, 9 years or so, what it was like. It just looked like, it didn't look like a 37-year-old, put it like that. You know, he was having the time of his life. You know, he's absolutely loving it, doing what he loved doing best, backing into the opposition players, causing problems for them, and he did it in buckets. And like I say, that forcing that knock on was just saying, I think again, he just said to them, give them that confidence, say, we can do this. You know, we're going back to what got us in this position throughout the season, smothering other teams, not letting them out their own half, not letting them out their 10-yard line. The number of times Wigan were kicking just outside the 25-yard line on the 5th tackle, I don't know, I just lost count. But that was just testament to the intensity of that defence that, you know, we'd seen, you know, early in the season and got us to where we are. And it just was the right time that we needed to do. It was to do it this time. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they certainly weathered the storm, Carl. I mean, let's talk about the J.O.B.J try, because ultimately, I think this try is the reason he's in the England squad. I think it was this try that showed Sean Wayne that actually you need to include this player in the side, because if you give an opportunity, he finishes. I think J.O.B.J is our best defender, but there's no doubt whatsoever he's our best finisher. If you give him the ball 10 metres out from their try line, you expect him to score, and he's done it so many times this season. He's absolutely loved being a Robin, hasn't he? You can only see by celebrate just how happy he's been around the camp. Don't forget as well, Carl, he's had a few injuries this season. He's not featured, you know, all year round. So when you see how many tries he actually has scored for the Robins, it's phenomenal. But you saw the link-up play from Ollie Gildart to Burgess. You saw the Lewis combination going out to the left. It was just a great try to score. And that's when, for me, I thought, I think we're going to do it. Because if you roll back to last year's grand final, where it's such a turgid affair in terms of point scoring, it was You know, it was so drab, really, wasn't it, in terms of attacking play? But I think this is when I thought Rovers are playing their game and Wigan can't compete with it.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it was some finish, wasn't it? I mean, if that was a Reece Walsh in the NRL or something like that, they all waxing lyrical about it, wouldn't they?
They should
You
put
know,
a
I
cape
mean,
on him. It'd be like Superman. That's what he should have,
well,
when he dived in for that try.
yeah.
Honestly, put a
Well,
cape on him.
I think when he dived in at the time, me and you was sort of, oh, we're not sure, and then when we saw it on the replay, it was like,
Yeah.
what a finish that was for the
Yeah,
pace
well,
he
you
was
know
at.
what?
And
Live in the ground, you thought, oh, that he's in touch. And then you watch it back on TV.
He's nowhere near it.
He was nowhere near it. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
makes it more phenomenal, Carl. The fact that where he put it down.
yeah, the speed he was travelling at and the space he had to work in, and also taking into consideration, you know, the in goals there are tiny and you're going straight off a cliff basically into the advertising hoardings, aren't you, down the hill? I mean, it was some finish. What I would like to say is obviously give Ollie Gildart some raps as well, because he's only been back 2 or 3 games, if I remember rightly, and he's put in some stellar performances. I think he got man of the match in the semi-final against Saints. His son got his fitness up to, you know, where it needed to be, and like I say, he's put some stellar performances. And again, he released Burgess early for that try, and it was a fantastic finish, you know, for sure. But you know, you're right in what you're saying, mate. He hasn't featured in all the games this season. We've seen the other Noah come in a few times, haven't we? He's played a few games on the wing and whatnot. So yeah, I think with Burgess, I think he's definitely in the England squad for that. But also in terms of the high ball, he's good. He's good with the high ball in defence, and he brings the ball back well after he's caught that, you know, last tackled play from the opposition. So he's definitely going to give Shaun Wane some food for thought, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's on that wing.
Yeah, I tell you what, Bazza, Reece Martin gives away a penalty, doesn't he? I think quite deliberately. We're going to go get the 2 points. It's 10-2 at half time. While you're mulling over your Pringles and your pint and your Pepsi, what are you thinking? Are you thinking we're looking good value for this? Or are you thinking I can't see Wigan coming back? What are you thinking at that stage?
Honestly, throughout the game, and this is no rubbish, I was calm, I was comfortable. I went into that stadium, I was comfortable. I spoke to someone before the Saints game. I always said anything after the Challenge Cup for me is a bonus. So whatever it'll be, you know what I mean? And then at half time, it was like you kind of started to believe, but I didn't panic. You know, I want R8. I felt everyone kept asking me like, "How are you so calm?" But I was fine. I was comfortable. I trusted the boys. I knew they'd come good in that game, and I honestly thought next score, if we score next, I genuinely felt we'd done it. And then Wigan scored. Don't get me wrong, I did start getting a bit squeaky bum, and then the pressure kicked in a little bit. But no, at half time, I thought 100% we was the better side, and I felt throughout we had them rattled. From that 10-minute mark where we made a few errors, we rattled them. They couldn't handle being bullied down the middle, because they're the bullies and they got bullied by us, and I just don't think they could deal with it. And we saw that with Brad O'Neill's simbing him. So I was fine. One thing I did notice, which again was a surprise, and you don't realise till you watch it back, was we lost Jessie 𝗀𝗏 quite early. So you take Jessie 𝗀𝗏 out, we've brought Mickey Mack off after a quarter of an hour. We effectively played 60 odd minutes with 2 subs against a world-class Wigan. So, you know, I don't think that's been noticed a lot. So, no, I was fine, mate. I trusted the boys, and I just, I knew we'd get over the line once Jez had scored. Don't get me wrong, I was questioning it after Harry Smith went in, but I don't think we was panicked at all in that second half. It was very composed.
Well, I nearly called Bazza the 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏 about how calm he was, and then he tells me how nervous he was. But James, I tell you what, we saw one moment that was a great delight for the Robin supporters was the Lytton tackle on Harvard where he knocked it on. But there's no doubt 15 minutes when Harry Smith goes in for that try, there was a lot of probably anxiousness, worry, because it wasn't just the try, it was the nature of the try, the way that they opened us up on that edge. And then the fact that they went in and scored that. I think what was pleasing at the time, though, with James, was the fact that they missed a kick. And it'll become apparent why that was so important. But there was a lot of worry, anxiousness around where I was stood that here we go. They finally got into the game.
Yeah.
What's going to come next?
Yeah, I was like with Bazza on this one. I think I was quite calm at half time. I thought if we score next, then yeah, we've probably got it in. I think we've probably got it in the bag. even given my history of with seeing them grab defeat from jaws of victory, but because it just seemed to be going set for set. Wigan didn't seem to make any yardage. We sort of seemed to be very well containing them. But then, like I say, I think you can't. We know how good 𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 is, and you just cannot give him an inch. And I think that was the only time in the whole game when either him, well, he was able to get away, and he's got pace like you can't. You just obviously it's really hard to deal with. And I thought, okay, he's gone in. It's 10-6, kick to come. Kieran's going to kick this. It's going to be 10-8. And then when he missed it, I thought, wow. Is the pressure getting to them as well? And suddenly you're thinking it's 10-6. They've got to score another try and get a goal, get a try. I think you start getting a bit nervous because it's Wigan. They've got like the French infield who can just turn it on in an instant, turn the game in an instant. But then I think it was Walters who then knocked on.
Yeah.
And I think that then, for me, just changed the whole momentum of the game. And I thought, we're going to win this. From then on, I didn't feel nervous at all. I thought, we've got this. Our defence is rock solid. We've got a game plan where we're forcing them to... We're not going for 1 point, drop goals or anything like that, or daft like that. We're forcing them to run out from their try line. You're not giving Field, you're not giving French an inch. You're not giving Marshall an inch. You're going to force them to make the errors and the start to make more errors. And again, that's testament to the defence and I think Peters' game plan that they just executed to absolute perfection.
Well, that's it. James mentioned it, Cal. In the space of 3 minutes, we had Kieran missing the kick. We had Jared Ware-Hargreaves back on for Whitbread. We had the knock-on from Walters, and then we had the penalty from Martin, which put us 12-6 up. And that's where, just as when you think we're going to get him back into the game, there's just that swing. And it was in such a short space of time. And also, we saw, just a few minutes later, 𝗬𝗓𝗄𝗏 going off the pitch for Sam Luckley. Now, we've not seen that this season. We mentioned it on the Robin Pod last week because it happened against St Helens. What do you think that's down to, Cal? Do you think it's keeping him fresh? Do you think he's injured? Do you think it's tactical to try and deceive the opposition? Because we've only seen it. I think we saw it. I think he went off against Oldham in the cup game. We saw it against St Helens, and we saw it in the grand final. I can't think of a time where 𝗬𝗓𝗄𝗏 has been interchanged. What do you think it is? Do you think he's gassed? Do you think it's a tactic? What do you reckon that is?
Yeah, I think there could be a multiple number of reasons why Willie Peters decides to do that. I mean, depending on who you're playing, I mean, we alluded it to earlier on in the pod, didn't we? That 𝗵𝗂𝗏 and Adley and Batchelor get through a lot of work. It might have got to the point in that game where Willie Peters has thought, right, he's probably put 30 plus tackles in about at that stage or whatever it may have been. And also, he might have seen a chink in the armour of Wigan in terms of let's sling Luckley on and put Adley into 13 and try and punch him bigger holes. Because as great as 𝗵𝗂𝗏 is with his work, his carries out as big as some other bigger lads have they, so to speak. So there's probably a couple of multiple reasons why that change has happened a couple of times. I suppose it'll be as and when who they're playing during what's happened in the game. You know, so that would probably be my thinking on that and my take on it.
Yeah, Bazza, and within 4 minutes of Alex Mincello coming on, we go Litton, Batchelor, Hiku, Litton. I think for me, one of the best tries in a grand final we've seen in recent history. What an absolutely fantastic try it was. Bazza, though, before that, I think it was a drive from 𝗬𝗂𝗏 which ultimately set up that try. We saw that lung busting run where he knocked Nsembra out the way. And the quick play of the ball ultimately led to no square markers being there, which then gave Jez Litton the opportunity to make the break. It was a great try, wasn't it? That was the champagne rugby league that we've become accustomed to from the Robins this season.
Yeah, that was an incredible try. Are you sure it was in Nsembra? Wasn't it the one where Hargreaves absolutely flattered Thompson? Or
yeah, sorry, Thompson. Yeah,
put him on his backside, didn't he? Which again doesn't happen very often. From Jez,
well,
it was just great.
Bazza, just on that, Bazza, I think, and we're going to talk about the England squad. I think it was Thompson's performance in the grand final, which has led to him not being included in the England squad going forward. But we digress. But yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, with Jez, it was just eyes up rugby and the awareness around him, you know, for that quick score out of dummy half. But credit needs to go to Wicko for his awareness of Jez backing him up, you know, getting that ball out before he hit the ground. And again, that's the chemistry that the boys have got. What, as a Rovers fan, we haven't seen for a lot of years. And we've seen tries like that a lot over the last few years. Again, Jez, unsung hero. I think he's kind of gone in Mikey's shadow a little bit this year. It's still beyond me why he's not up for Man of Steel, or he never was up for Man of Steel. I think it's all because all the talks around Mikey, but I think after that performance in the grand final and seeing how he gets on in the Ashes, I definitely think Jez Litton's name is going to be on a lot of people's tongues next year.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that try, James, Hiku was obviously instrumental to that. What he was absolutely instrumental in was tightening that defence on that edge, because he was phenomenal in terms of limiting the attacking ability of Wigan. He just wrapped everything up. And, you know, for me, we talked about 𝗬𝗂𝗏, one of his best games of the season. I think for me, that was one of Hiku's best, because he just solidified that edge so much. He was phenomenal, the defensive effort he put in. And I suppose we're probably used to it now. Like, this is normal, like Hiku. And I did have a wry smile on my face when New Zealand announced their squad for the Pacific Championship. Of course, he was included last year. I thought, you know, I thought maybe he could have included it. I thought his performances this season. But I do want to shine a light on Peter Hiku, because he's been phenomenal since he signed for the Robins. His attitude, his performances, his attacking prowess in terms of offload, like Bazza said, but he's defensive. He will go down as, and it's a bold claim, but one of the best centres Hull Kingston Rovers will have ever had. And there's more to come.
No, there is. I think, you know, like you say, he's getting selected again for New Zealand last year. Last year was fully deserved. Bit of a surprise, like I say, it wasn't picked up this year, but it just seems to be getting better and better. It's just that, you know, is that confidence it gives that in the defence on that side. I mean, obviously he's up against Wardle. I mean, Wardle's no slouch, you know. Wardle's a bloody good player, and he just couldn't. He wasn't allowed to get into the game at all. And again, Wardle's one of those Wigan players who, you know, can just turn a game in an instant, and he just didn't give the opportunity thanks to Hiku's defensive on that side. And yeah, I think is he only signed till the end of next year?
Yeah, he's got 1 year left, hasn't he?
1 year left. So I suppose the question is whether he wants to go around again. But yeah, it's just been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and then Carl, as the game went on, we saw the try going in from Lytton. Elliot Minchella comes back on for Jared Hargreaves. We see later on a 7-tackle restart from a missed kick from Field, and then the man of the moment, Burgess goes in for the try that seals the deal, and then that's when you see utter jubilation, you know, and moment where every Rovers fan in the ground watching on TV, watching from afar, could just. It's almost like another pinprick in the balloon, wasn't it? Because you could just enjoy it, and it's sometimes fun, isn't it, Carl? Because you celebrate things, you expect it to be jubilation, but sometimes also it's just relief. You're like, instead of jumping up on your chair, you're sinking back in it, because it's just a relief, Carl, of just we've done it. And I keep saying it in my head. Do you know what? There's one sentence in my head that just keeps going round, and if I meet the player, whoever I speak to, is they did it. They just did it. And as juvenile as that sounds, they did it. And that was that moment where Burgess goes in, you see the try, he bounced. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want a fan of him scoring the try. Just put the ball down. Just put it. Don't leave any. But I mean, the game was gone at that point. But yeah, Carl, utter jubilation.
I think it was like somebody had released the gas valve. You know, the pressure just comes out, because as much as you was confident, you know, in the second half and into the latter stages of the game, that try sort of just thought, let it out. And I think you saw in terms of all the supporters, the players, the coaching staff on the sideline, you know, I think everybody knew at that point it was done. The relief was there, and we was treble winners. I think in the position we were stood in, Chris, I think as soon as Harry Smith threw that ball, you knew it wasn't going to anybody, because it was just an offer.
It was aimless, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Desperation pass. I'll throw it and see what happens. And unfortunately for Harry Smith and the Wigan Warriors, it panned out straight into Joe Burgess, and he was in. And like you say, the gas valve was released, and then it was just, you know, joyous and pure emotion after that, looking around the stands. So yeah, it was definitely the deal sealed, and we are now treble winners.
Yeah, Bazza, Michael Lewis, Rob Burrow, man of the match. Do you concur? Do you hear that, Bazza? No. So we'll go to you, James.
Fully deserved. Although Jez ran him close, Jared ran him close, but you know what?
I thought he was asleep, then.
What you say?
I thought he was asleep.
Can you not hear me?
Yeah, oh no, mate, don't worry, there's a bit of a delay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
No, wide awake, kid.
Old Trafford, Baz.
Go to James.
Yeah, right, James. I'll tell you what, I'll come to you. Baz will come back on. I'll ask you the next question. Michael Lewis, Rob Burrow, man of the match. Do you concur? Do you think he was deserving of it?
Jono, you've got the delay. I can hear you boys perfectly. Can you hear me, James?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Right, carry on, James. We'll sort Baz out in a minute.
Yeah, no, thoroughly deserved. You know, just because the way he controlled that game. You know, look dangerous every time he got the ball. Didn't cause Wigan problems.
Told you, I got the blame for
it. But yeah, I think when you look at the reading about how many, I think it was 8 Rovers players have got votes for player for the award, and you look at them, and you can justify why all of them were there. You know, like I say, 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗃's had his best game in a red and white shirt, and Peter said afterwards, isn't he? He brought him and Mickey Mack in for these sort of games, and they delivered. They delivered on what they were brought in to do, and yeah, I thought he was superb. Batch and Hadley just ran themselves to blood to water. Lytton, I think, changed the game. I've seen some Wigan fans saying Lytton should have been the man of the match because he just turned the game when he came on. but yeah, it was just. I think he could have given it to any of them, if I'm honest, any of them. But Lewis was the one for me that was head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, I mean, Carl as well. I mean, you could go through the team, couldn't you, in terms of giving them plaudits and what they've done. And Dean Hadley, though, I think he played. Well, he played second row, he played prop, and I think he played loose forward. Not only did he do that, he absolutely stopped Junior Nsamba from playing. He's done it, and he did it before at Craven Park as well. And I think he did it at the DW, the Brick Stadium, where he's gone toe to toe with him and made it his mission to stop Junior Nsamba having the impact that he has done on the Robins previously. And I think Dean Hadley's performance was absolutely brilliant, which is all the more galling the fact he's not then in the England squad for the Ashes series. But we all know, Dean Hadley knows we love him. We all love Dean Hadley. But it was a typical, which sounds like, don't give it the credit he deserves, a typical Dean Hadley performance. Because we've come so accustomed to him doing such a good job so consistently, but he deserves so many plaudits for what he did on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was outstanding on Saturday night, and I mean, even in some of the games where Rovers haven't played that well this year, he's still put the shift in, and he's still put himself about. I could probably count on one hand how many bad games he's had since he's been at the Robins. And I think that's a testament to him. And like you say, I'm absolutely flabbergasted he's not in that England squad, because there's some other people in that squad where if you're picking teams on merit, they shouldn't be in there, mate. But Dean himself, all I'd say is it's probably England's loss, really.
Yeah, and James, they changed the preparations, didn't they, this time? Because last year, they didn't go to the stadium the day before. They went on the day of the game. This time, they did go the day before. I think last year, they felt, or I think Willie Peters said that there was a bit like tourists who were taking pictures and stuff like that in the build-up to the game. So they changed the build-up. Like they did in Challenge Cup final, very similar, where they changed where the hotel was and stuff like that. And they're so switched on to what they're doing now. And what it was evident is, James, that in that final, there wasn't lucky to be there. From me as a supporter, I felt they owned that game. And that's because they had the experience of last season, they learned from it. And when they got there, they weren't overawed. There was accustomed to what there was going to be playing in front of. And ultimately, that's they always say you need to lose one to win one. Well, this season's really that's become apparent.
It has, and I think one of the things that when sort of journalists talk about Willie Peters and sort of other players talk about Willie Peters and what is one of his core skills that is around, it's about the attention to detail, and I think the fact that they changed the routine. They learned, they took on board what had happened last year. And I think also you'd probably go back to probably the 2023 Challenge Cup final as well, and probably picked up things from that as well. And so all the, that 2023 Challenge Cup final, last year's grand final, probably Wembley, this year, they probably picked up things there. Actually, we'll do this slightly differently, etc. Okay, we'll go down the day before. It worked for them, so we'll do that again for Old Trafford. And it's like I say, it's just those 1%ers and there's that detail that just make the difference, and you just see it in the end result. And you look back and you think, you say it's just still hard to believe that it was Rovers that are in the final, the man winning it, and then found what they deserve to be. On the whole of the season, they were the best team over the whole season, the most consistent team over the whole season. When we've not been so great, that I think after a bit Wigan at the Brick, we obviously went into a bit of a lull, but apart from probably the league game and the Leeds game, we managed to dig out wins, and that's always a sign of a good, sign of a great side. That when things aren't going well for them, they can dig out a win. Things were going great for us on Saturday, and we thoroughly deserved that win.
Yeah, it's crazy though, isn't it, Carl? Because we won the Challenge Cup, we won the League Leaders Shield, and it's almost like unless we won the grand final, supporters of other sides wouldn't almost give us the plaudits of being a good side, which is crazy, really. So you've got to win the treble to prove, because we've been told that we've been lucky. The RFL are in our favour. It's not the best competition. Like every other supporter of every other side has made an argument to say why actually our success this season shouldn't be celebrated. It's not as great as it has been previously, and I find that astonishing, really, because it's like we said at the start of the Robin Pod, to do this over the 5-6 year period is unbelievable, and to win the treble in what is only Willie Peters' third season in charge as well is absolutely incredible. And I'm sick of people sort of down talking what this side has done.
Yeah, I think also, as well as us being supporters, I think that's what makes it so sweeter, because you listen to Sky Sports and other media outlets and every single one of the pundits. So yeah, we know Wigan are a quality side, and they have been for 4 or 5 years, and rightly so. There probably was the favourites on Saturday for them reasons I've just stated, but everybody else had us second best, didn't they, and expecting Wigan to win. So it just makes it sweeter that we got over the line. Like James said, we did it in style. We did it, over the course of the season as well, in terms of the 27 rounds. So that grand final win on Saturday was just the final box ticked. So nobody in any way, shape or form can say Rovers was lucky, or they shouldn't have done this, or they should have done that. It literally just put the icing on the cake, seal the deal, and that we are the treble winners now, and nobody can dispute that. And that's why I've been smiling like a Cheshire cat since bloody Saturday night.
And I tell you what, Bazza, welcome back to Robin Pod. For people who are listening, won't realise that Bazza's had for people on YouTube will realise that he disappeared. But I tell you what, Bazza, Old Trafford is much maligned by a lot of people. I understand that. It is an aging stadium. But I tell you what, I did feel like it is the greatest stage for the grand. It is just synonymous with the grand final, and I felt that on Saturday night. It's just a great place to watch the game. I thought all the celebrations, the build-up, even at the end of the game, everything that happened, it was just what you'd expect from a grand final and what we needed. And also, I think great credit to the Rover supporters for the appreciation they showed to Wigan. And it was great to see, albeit apart from Liam Farrell, the Wigan players to show their appreciation to the Robins fans as well for what's been a hard season. It's been two teams going toe-to-toe.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'll say about the stadium, I absolutely loved it on Saturday night. I thought, yeah, perfect place for a final. Loved it. When you're on a losing side, it's not so great. And yeah, I won't lie to you, mate. 2024, I wasn't a fan of Old Trafford, but seeing the way everything was laid out and the way they did the presentations was quality. And even the Wigan players staying back, watching us lift the cup, I thought it was all put together really, really well. Even with the light show at half time, it was bang on. Still a little bit off the NRL, if I'm going to be honest, like with how they hand out the trophy, because I'm a believer. Like, it'd be nice to see the winning team called up one by one by the names, so they get the recognition that they thoroughly deserve. But no, apart from that, mate, it was spot on. And yeah, for me, I would keep it at Old Trafford, but by all accounts, there's plans to knock it down and build 100,000 seater whatever. But nah, I'm happy with it there. Like I say, it was nearly a sellout, just shy, and the atmosphere was incredible, and everything that was put on. You couldn't ask for any more. But would we still be saying this if the result didn't go in our favour? Probably not. But hey, who cares? It was a perfect stadium, perfect night. Everything was perfect. So I'm not fussed.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, James, share with us your emotions. Just as you saw Rovers win, you saw the trophy being lifted, and just walking out of Old Trafford, because I was lucky enough to be there with my family, my 2 boys, my wife. This is potentially as good as it gets. This may be for
just echoing what Bazza was saying, I think, you know, one thing the RFL get maligned for a lot of things, justifiably, but I think when they do put on an event like the grand final, I think they got it absolutely bob on. I think, you know, everything about it was great. But yeah, emotions. It was just like it was just disbelief and not wanting to leave, thinking, you know, have I just witnessed what I've witnessed? You know, have I seen Rovers win the grand final? You know, I'm obviously the vintage where I've seen the great times in the 80s. You know, I've seen them win. I saw them win in 84 at Lee. And, you know, I was around when they won in 85. I didn't go to the game, but obviously I was around. And for me, the thing about it is for a new generation of fans to be able to sample that I had. You know, I've been fortunate to see it 40 years ago, you know, and God willing, you know, hopefully, you know, I've lived long enough to see it again. But for a new generation of fans, like, you know, you guys, just to witness it and sample it with your family, just enjoy it. You know, it's like I say, you never know what's going to come round or how long it's going to continue. But nobody can ever take that away from us now. There's 5 teams have won that cup. We're one of them. 5 teams have won a treble. And you think about all the great teams that have played, you know, in Super League over the years. We're up there now. You know, we're one of the 5, top, by definition, one of the top 5 teams that have been playing in the history of Super League because we won a treble. And
I tell you what, Carl. When we talk about when will it sink in, potentially it'll sink in, and I think it'll sink in when we're playing the World Club Challenge. Now that's supposed to be so. Right, this is a sentence. We're going to play the World Club Challenge the week before we're going to Las Vegas to play a game of rugby league. So Hull Kingston Rovers are going to play the World Club Challenge, and then they're going to go to Las Vegas to play a rugby league game against the Leeds Rhinos.
Absolute craziness. A little bit, don't
No,
we?
we're not going to Whitehaven. We're not going to Wakefield. You know, and that's where I think James Wright hasn't sunk in. That's when you'll go,
yeah,
the penny drops, and you go, wow, you know what I mean, Carl? This is where I mean, the World Club Challenge, Brisbane Broncos, of course, probably one of, if not the biggest club team in rugby league in the world. It's going to take place on Friday the 20th or Saturday the 21st, of course, and then the Robins got to fly out to Las Vegas to get their preparations for. Don't forget, it's not friendly. We're playing against Leeds. It's a league game. 2 points at stake. It's an important game. They're on about playing it at the MKM Stadium, Carl. What do you reckon about that? Or do you want to bring Brisbane to HU9?
I want Brisbane Broncos to rock up down Preston Road in the coach, right? Absolutely get mauled by a load of fans. Drag them into the Dragon's Den, you know, get them on that paddock. Want some Northern England rain, sleet and snow. And then hopefully we'll be somewhere thereabouts where we can sort of really take them to the dying embers of the game, and we'll become World Club challengers as well if we do that. Champions.
The best team in the world. The best.
Exactly.
Rugby league
the best team in England.
The
Can we be the best team in the world in the next few months? I mean, that's just crazy to say that in that same sentence, isn't it? But let's be honest, it could become a reality. In terms of the MKM Stadium, I mean, we'd have to have a word with Hull City about that, wouldn't we? You know, there's no good asking the rest of them.
you got to ask the owners.
Yeah, exactly. So, me personally, I wouldn't want it there. I think we've earned the right to get them to Craven Park. What I would say is, in hindsight, you know, we didn't know what was happening until Saturday in terms of the winner of the grand final. In hindsight, maybe it'd have been better to have the the Vegas game at Brisbane, the Vegas game against Brisbane as a World Club Challenge rather than a standard Rhinos League game there. I get there's a lot of, you know, stuff in terms of promoting the game and having enough time to sort of get it set in stone. But like I say, that was in hindsight, which I'd like to, you know, see that. That's probably not going to happen now. But that week's going to be a crazy week for the Rovers staff and squad. I mean, a week turnaround from playing the World Club Challenge and getting over to Vegas, it's going to be some week, that's for sure.
Yeah, Bazza, I tell you what, if Craven Park was good enough for Chris Martin and Coldplay, it's good enough for Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell you what, me, if I had it my way and we could only get 10,000 in there, I don't care. I'd love to see the likes of Reece Walsh and Carrigan on our little old pitch, battering 10 bells out of our boys and going 10 to the dozen at each other, mate. Honestly, there'd be no better feeling. It'd be like, obviously, it was before my time, but the older generation who got to see that Queensland side come over and test themselves against Rovers in '83. So it'd just be like that again, mate. So they've had a taste of it. So let us, the new generation, as James put it, let us have a taste of it against the Broncos, because I think it'd be epic. And to be honest with you, mate, I think it'd be a bit of an eye opener for a few of the Brisbane boys, you know, with a big posh dressing rooms and whatnot, and then they come to our tiny little sheds. Nah, mate, it's got to be at our place. And to be honest with you, mate, if it's at the MKM, it is what it is. It's our second home, and virtually our training
It'd be
ground.
like another home game anyway.
I'm
comfortable with that as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If you ask Neil Udgell, I will 100% stake a claim that he wants a game at Craven Park. But this club has moved on in terms of you've got to capitalise on the moment, and if you can get an extra 10,000 people in or whatever it, you know, the revenue that generates. So you know, there's no doubt internal wranglings going on. I did see someone put. I don't remember if anyone's been to see cricket at Lancashire when England play, and they've got that massive temporary stand. Someone said, well, just build that in front of the south stand. Just build the biggest temporary stand you could build, as many people in, and play at Craven Park. Do you know what? I want it at Craven Park. That's where I want it. That's where it's got to be. That's where we've got our best chance of winning a game. You know, and don't forget, St Helens went over to Penrith and played there. Penrith Stadium's not exactly Wembley. When they went and they beat them there as well. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about. Hey, what a conversation to be had. You know, what a conversation
to be having. Never thought be having this in my lifetime. Anyway, it's incredible.
Yeah, and James, I do want to mention as well. Not only did we have one trophy parade, we had two. Not only did we sell out Queen Victoria Square again, because everyone loves to, every opposition fan loves to comment on sellouts, but to have two in one season is absolutely phenomenal. And the support that the Robins have enjoyed has been absolutely brilliant. And you can see the connection between the players and the supporters and the club official. It's just there to see. And ultimately, that's why so many people did turn up on Sunday evening, afternoon to celebrate the success. Another joyous occasion, turning the city red and white.
Yeah. I said when I was there, I said it's never going to get boring. This is it. Yeah, it is. It's just unreal that, you know.
Carl, I'll come to you. A great occasion.
James is pausing for a selfie, I think.
I don't know what he's looking at. He's looking at the old fair lights that he can see out of his window.
Yeah, no, to be fair, he's absolutely bang on with that assessment. I mean, no one's getting bored of that, are they? I mean, there's flares going off, there's music, you know, banging. We get another cracking interview from 𝗀𝗽𝗋𝗀 just on the balcony, don't we? I mean, the guy's gold, isn't he? Just the full experience, the full day, you know, the fireworks experience, you know, the announcing of the players coming onto the balcony, the players taking the, you know, the rights in terms of the rewards they're receiving and the cheers that individually was getting. I mean, you just never get bored of it, and you know, long may it continue. It's just an absolute incredible carnival atmosphere for, you know, for a good afternoon. And obviously the weather was dry again, so that's a bonus. And it was just a massive, joyous celebration in what we've achieved this season.
Yeah, and I always keep saying, Bazza, and it's becoming cliched, nobody does it like the Robins. And at the moment, what I mean by that is the off-field staff, you know, the amount of work they have to put in behind the scenes to make sure that events like Sunday afternoon in Queen Victoria Square happen. You know, now they're on about trophy presentations. We're getting sponsorship, let alone the new sponsors. The amount of work that goes on off the field. You know, this is really a club going places, and I think what a time to be alive to be a Rover supporter, because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, there is, and I think we're going to see a lot of exciting things in the next couple of years, especially with stadium redevelopment or whatever, if they extend the stand or build a stand in the sports village. But again, it's all the hard work from people in the back room. But one thing I loved about that parade was they involved everybody, and I mean everybody involved with the club was part of that parade again. And even the boys who didn't get a game, mate, there was meant to feel like they'd played at Old Trafford with the celebrations. And to be fair, mate, it's got to be worth paying tribute to the likes of Jack Broadbent, who was massively unlucky to miss out on that day, because he has been a massive part for everything we've done this year, from being unbelievable at fullback in the Challenge Cup, just to being such a consistent player. So I really don't feel sorry for Jack Broadbent. But it was the right call, as we've seen with the performance Ollie Gilder put in. But yeah, I feel for them boys. 𝗬𝗓𝗏, he's done his part. Bill Leyland, you know, Jack Brown, they've all had the part to play in us making history. And as far as Rowan Milnes coming back in, he never took to the field for us, but it's what he did in training, you know, doing the run plays and whatnot. And the fact the club even involved Rowan to the celebrations, it just shows how connected we are and how we are going places. And mate, it's exciting times. I can't wait for it to progress, and we are growing and building, getting bigger. And I think the next challenge for us now is to maintain it, because Willie Peters always alludes himself to Wigan as the genuine top, and we're on that trajectory to be like a Wigan, to maintain this top level status, mate. And yeah, credit to each and every one of them at that club, because they work tirelessly.
Yeah, well, Neil Hudgell's laid down the gauntlet, because he's now wanting a sustained period of success, and there's no doubt that that's what the club are giving themselves towards. And with the board of directors and what's going on with them, you know, there's no doubt that they are planning for the future. Carl, I mean, we can't not mention Willie Peters, because he has been a absolutely driving force behind this team. He has been the figurehead of a side that's delivered the treble. And when I say it's not an accident, it's not an accident, is it? Because Willie Peters is absolutely meticulous in his planning, his organisation, and his leadership of this side. And he's going to be the assistant coach of Australia in this Ashes series. His stock has rose so greatly. And do you know what? That's talking about him as a professional, but what a great human being he is. He has time for everybody. He has the adoration of the fans, of the players. and I sent him a little message on Instagram from the Robin Pod, and he messaged back straight away and was saying, "Congratulations, blah blah." He has time for everyone, and as a figurehead of the team, Willie Peters, he will never ever be forgot, Carl.
No, the bloke is literally a class act off the field and on the field, isn't he? And like you've just alluded to, the time he gives the fans, you know, all the sponsors, he just ticks every box as a head coach, doesn't he? And I mean, like you say, his profile's risen in the last couple of seasons. I think the biggest thing with him, especially the on-field stuff, he literally lives and breathes the game. It's, you know, it's well documented that he's on his phone all hours a night, WhatsApping the coaches and coming up with new strategies and new ideas. And I think his wife, I think she makes a running joke of he spends more time on the WhatsApp with the coaches than does asleep with his wife in bed, so to speak. So, you know, I think it's well documented that he you know, he's a true professional. He lives and breathes the game, and I think we've seen the rewards of that in the last, you know, 2 or 3 years. I mean, I'm pretty sure he won't just be planning for 26. I think he'll be planning for 27 and beyond. That's just the type of guy he is. He leaves no stone unturned in anything in terms of recruitment and academy status. And yeah, I don't think anything we say can compliment him much more, really. I mean, you know, he's rumoured with these NRL gigs, isn't he? And he has been for the last 6 months or so. And I think that's ultimately going to happen at some point. But in terms of Rovers, you're not going to put anybody in place who's going to do a better job at the moment. That's for sure.
Yeah, and James, I mean, if you listen to all the reports down under in Australia, and of course, there's great interest in the Robins and Willie Peters in particular. The fact that he's Australian and he's, like I mentioned, he's the assistant coach of Australia for the Ashes. What was really interesting is there's an interview on a podcast. So Show Me the Money. He mentioned that actually Anthony Seibold was originally the pick to be head coach for the Robins. Of course, former Robin. And then Willie Peters done an interview on SEN League down in Australia on the Jimmy Smith show. And it was Willie Peters who mentioned that it was Seibold who sort of mentioned that it was giving the nod to Willie Peters to become head coach. What a different path it could have been if we hadn't had Willie Peters, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But there's no doubt whatsoever Willie Peters is, one of the greatest, if not the second greatest head coach Hull Kingston Rovers have ever had. And we've got sustained, potentially, period of success. So I'm not one to compare. Like, we get it on the question time about comparing squads and players and stuff like that. It's a really difficult debate. But there's no doubt Willie Peters, he's been a breath of fresh air, hasn't he, to this side, James, to the club, how he approaches stuff.
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's that meticulous attention to detail. But I think for me, the one thing that, you know, really comes across is the culture he wants to instill at the club, and he wants or expects any players who come into the club to abide by that. And it was really illuminating just to hear him talking about, you know, we're a community, we're representing the East Hull community, people of the East Hull community, you know, where, you know, we're part of their lives. And then to hear 𝗀𝗲𝗄𝗃𝗃𝗃 echoing what he was saying, and, you know, some of the comments Jared's been coming out with in the press this week about saying to NRL players, just do it, just come over, experience it, you love it. And, you know, he's bought into what Willie's building at the club, and, you know, talk about unity amongst the playing group. And like I say, it just goes back to the examples you gave earlier about getting all the fringe players involved in the celebrations. You know, they're part of the club, and, you know, we saw at the beginning of the season they have that, you know, that team photo where they have all the clubs that represent Hull KR, whether, you know, rugby league, netball, you know, the disability groups, the women's teams, the academy, the scholarships, they're all part of the one club, and they're all buying into that ethos and that culture. And Willie Peters has set that. And that for me is going to blueprint how the club goes forward. You look at the great teams. You look at people talk about the Wigan culture. That's what's got that they don't become great by accident. They build and build and build that club, and that's what Rovers are emulating now. And I think going forward, I think I think the Wigan and Rovers rivalry is probably going to be going for the next sort of few years, or I hope it is. And we're going to feed off. I think we're going to feed off each other. The Wigan are already talking about how they're going to build for next year now. Rovers are going to build from a strong, strong base. They know they've got to what's next. World champions, going back to back. Nobody's ever done back to back. Trebles. Why can't it be Rovers? They've done it once. They can do it twice.
It's all in front of us. And I tell you what, Bazza, what's great now is, don't forget, 𝗬𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏 only signed for the Robins on the back of a conversation with Sean Kenny-Dowell in Paris. And that was the spark that made him come over. So don't forget, we've got a mole in Sean Kenny-Dowell who's got great connections in the game. We've now got 𝗬𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 going back to Australia, telling people how great it is to come to sign for the Robins. And we've got Willie Peters in the Australian camp now telling everybody how great it is to be at Old Kingston Rovers. So I'm expecting us to be like the Harlem Globetrotters of rugby league soon, because we're going to sign every great player going because of how good it is to come to East Hull. All jokes aside, the big weapons, aren't they, Bazza, to get, don't get me wrong, players aren't playing for free. The money's got to stack up. The contract's got to be right. But if it's a difference between going here or there for a little bit of different money, but someone tells you, no, you want to come here because you love it, that's what counts a lot for people.
100%, John, and it's really putting Hull on the map, Hull KR on the map, the city of Hull, and it's making it a more attractive place to come. If you're getting superstar names who's earned the big bucks like Jared coming over and having the time of his life and whatnot, then it's nothing but good for us. But we're in a position now where we won't just take any Australian like we have done in the past. We've got to make sure that the Australians that do come over is right for us and our club and our culture. So it's kind of where you'd see Jared going back, and I don't think Jared had ever put a good word in about our club to anyone who we don't feel would fit our culture and what's required to play for us. And that's only going to benefit us tenfold. Even having Willie Peters amongst the Australian ranks, again, they're going to learn a lot about Willie and his coaching style and what he's about. And if they're like working under him, we could be in a position to potentially sign one or two players out of that Australian squad. It might not be tomorrow, might not be next year, but it's something what's been built at our club over time, and it's only going to bode as well. As for Willie, like listening to you boys talking about him earlier, I don't think there's words what can describe what he's done for us. Again, we're Neil Ujula's backer, and for me, he's been the best thing, barring obviously Ujul. That's happened to our club in the best part of 20, 30 years, maybe longer. I've never seen a coach like him with how he's transformed us in such a short space of time. I've never seen out like it. It's incredible. It'll be a sad day when we lose him, but we know it will come. That day will come. But I tell you what, he'll have every single one of us lot's blessing, because he deserves a shot at the big time when his time's right. But Willie Peters, for me, mate, he deserves a key for the city.
Yeah, and I'll let you deliver it in your big lorry, Bazza, because it'll be big enough. Right, internationals coming up. England have named their squad. It's really interesting. Bazza was talking about Willie Peters, because I saw, of course, as well as England taking on Australia in the Ashes, there's the Pacific Championship, so that involves New Zealand, Tonga, the Cook Islands, Fiji. all the countries down there. I saw Brad Takarangi named in the Cook Island squad. I was interested. I wonder how long he'd have lasted under Willie Peters. That's a side. But Mikey Lewis, Joe Burgess, 𝗬𝗓𝗏 named in the England squad. We've got Rovers tinted spectacles on. I could probably list another 3 Rovers players who should have been in that squad. They're not. But it's great to see them included, and we're hoping for England victory against Australia. It might be unlikely, but we wish our Rovers players the best.
Yeah, I think in terms of the series, I think without sounding so negative in terms of the selections he's made, I think England need to win that first game at Wembley. I think if they don't win that first game at Wembley and it gets to Everton and the Aussies beat us, I think it's good night Vienna. I just think they need to use the home advantage, go at them hard and see if you can shock them a little bit. I think if they win the first game, I think that will be it. I think most importantly, whoever puts that England jersey on, I think there's pretty much every rugby league fan in the country will back them, whether you agree that they're there or not. I mean, I've read a lot of stuff on social media the last couple of days that he's getting the band back together. He's got all his old Wigan buddies together and all this, that, and the other. And yeah, part of that, it looks like that a lot of the time, but also it's them people that have been talked about in terms of your John Batemans and all them type of guys, ex-Wigan lads. It's not their fault, is it? It's not their fault they've been included. They're not going to say no to playing for the country. So, yes, probably not the squad that a lot of people would have chose. But I think whatever happens is at the end of the day, we're all English. We want what's best for the sport in this country, and me included, we'll be all backing them, mate, for sure.
I tell you what, James, there's a real opportunity here for Mikey Lewis and particularly 𝗬𝗓𝗏 to really put themselves forward, as in terms of their being absolutely star players, which might not be great for us, because if you play well against Australia, people start taking notice of you. But I do think there's an opportunity for them 2 players. Their upward trajectory of their career is going to peak against Australia. And I do think Mikey Lewis now, his performance in the grand final has made him go from being a maybe to being a starter.
Yeah, for me, he's got to start, and the same with 𝗬𝗓𝗏 as well. Well, would you put 𝗬𝗓𝗏 on the bench and replicate the role he has at Rovers? It's an interesting debate, but yeah, I think obviously when I think Mikey made his debut, it was against Samoa for England, and he won the Man of the Match award.
It was Tonga.
The Tonga, right. One Man of the Match. I think that sort of started that, giving him the confidence that he can do it on the big stage. It'll be both 𝗬𝗓𝗏 and Mikey will be brimming with confidence after Saturday, and they'll probably can't wait to rip into the Aussies. And for me, like I said, they both got to start. Whether Joe Burgess plays or not is another matter. I suspect he probably won't do, but yeah, it's an interesting squad. I think for me, obviously the big one is Jake Connor. But yeah, for whatever reason he's not in there, it just beggars belief that he's not in there. I just think it's probably Shaun Wane's got fixated on a view on him, and he's not prepared to. So blinkered, he's not prepared to change it when everybody can see that Connor should be in there.
Just to cut you off there, James, I disagree with that a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of people saying, no, he's man of steel, he should be selected, blah, blah, blah. But I don't agree with a lot of what Shaun Wane's selections have been. But in terms of consistency over a number of seasons, we're asking somebody who's had one good season in the Rhinos jersey to go and play against the best national team in the world in terms of the Aussies. So I'm not saying he shouldn't have been in the squad, but I'm pretty agree with Shaun Wane's selection, to be honest. I mean, that might be people might say, well, I'm an absolute fool for saying that, but that's my opinion. I think I think there's a narrative there with that. I think people just think because he's the man of steel and he's had a good season, it is a given. I just don't think that's the case, in my opinion.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bazette, there's a knock-on effect. So as much as we're delighted, pleased to see our players get international honours, Willie Peters likes to get his players in early for pre-season. Of course, go to Tenerife. Like, Hull Kingston Rovers now are famous for their pre-season intensity, how they get the players fit. And we saw that this season because players like Lewis, Jeslerton, Elliot Minchella played nearly every game that they could play. I think I can count on one hand literally how many games have missed. But the knock-on effect of the Ashes series is that they do need a break. I mean, I think at the moment the Rovers players are in Albufeira. They're doing a Mad Monday over a few days. Of course, they're lapping up, having a great time and celebrating the success. But particularly two pivotal players, which are Mikey Lewis and Jeslerton, they will come back later. They'll need a rest. They can't be expected to go full tilt pre-season. And potentially at the start of next season, are we going to see a lull? Are we going to... So there is a bit of a worry about what's it going to look like next season, because these two players are, of course... And don't forget as well, there's no Mickey McAlorum. So Bill Leyland's now the backup hooker. It was reported on... so anyone who's listened to the Show Me the Money podcast, they confirmed Jack Charles is a Robin, although nothing official has come out yet. Is he going to play? Because obviously Roy Milnes has gone, Danny Richardson's gone. There's a lot of stuff going on there, isn't there, where we're not quite sure of what particularly the start of next season might look like.
Bloody hell, there was a lot to second there, John. Jesus. No, I think we'll be all right. Willie seems to manage them all right. He's never had an issue before. Last year Mikey played 2 games against Samoa. The year before that, was it 3 games against Tonga, or did he get dropped for the last game? Either way, he's done it. He's got the international experience. So Mikey also knows how to manage his body and when he needs a rest. And I don't think there's no issue with him going in pre-season late. Tyrone didn't come in till the new year this year.
Yeah, he went to Australia. Yeah, he didn't come back till January, did he?
No, so for me, I don't believe it's going to be an issue. There is going to be some tight bodies, but Willie's recruitment's been quite smart with some of the young lads we've brought in, more noticeably Jack Charles. And I personally can't wait to see him under Willie Peters, with a full pre-season, because I think he's going to really excel just like Mikey did. So, it depends which way you want to look at it. We want to be at the top of our game, but being at the top of our game makes us play in places like Las Vegas, World Club Challenges, our players getting international honours. But this is why we're expanding our squad, and we're getting younger players in, like Declan Rice. He could potentially be a number 9 for... Not Declan Rice, Murphy. He plays football. Declan Murphy.
What's that have been?
I'll chuck myself out my wagon. No, Declan Murphy.
You chuck yourself under it, not out of it.
I don't think we'll be able to afford his salary deal.
Jesus, I know. But Declan Murphy, I'll get it right this time. He's not a specialised full-back, half-back or ruck or out. So I think we will be all right. We might tire off mid-season, but this is where he'll rotate his squad. But these lads, Mikey, Jez, they're not old boys. They're not 34, 35, They've got a lot of life left in the legs. So I think the key is, mate, just keep them injury-free. I think that's the most important.
Well, if you haven't listened to the Show Me the Money podcast, I'd recommend you listen, because another thing that he said is about how Paul Lakin and Willie Peters have been insistent on putting as much money into the rehabilitation of players, the injury side, making sure that the players get the best treatment, the best possible care possible, So make sure that they're out on the pitch as long as possible. And don't forget, I mean, which goes against all that, with Mickey McAloran playing with a fractured ankle in the grand final, which is absolutely crazy. And don't forget as well, he played injured in the Challenge Cup final as well. But yeah, they are investing in making sure that the Robins can get the best players out on the pitch as many times as possible for as long as possible. So really smart from that. I do recommend listening to it. Where do we go from here? We've got, I'll tell you what, Carl, Bradford Bulls back in Super League. As we record this, if people listening to this, you probably already know which teams are in Super League. Are you thrilled to see Bradford back? Is it something that excites you? For me, it feels a bit like, yeah, I think we've been here before.
Do you remember when you used to watch X Factor and there used to be a big red cross if you didn't get through to the next round? That with Bradford, that is what it is for me. Because I think we know Nigel Wood supports. I think we know there's an agenda
allegedly.
Allegedly. I think we know there's an agenda there, and I think we also know how many times we've bailed them out in the past. So I mean, how long do we make this piece of rope for them? Because for me, hey, I'm not saying they can't get a decent squad together, but they've had so many chances in the past, and I just think, why not give that chance to somebody else?
Sorry, Carl. Just going on that Bradford, they've never won a championship down in the championship. They've never won a grand final, mate. So no way do they deserve to be in Super League, especially with the 𝗀𝗃 the state it's in, mate. I'm fuming about it, but crack on, mate. Sorry.
I totally. Go on, James.
Yeah, I was going to say, just building on what you said, Baz, I think haven't they sort of increased the score on the utilisation for 𝗀𝗃 by having closing a bit of it off because it's condemned? I mean,
joking it.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I suppose on the flip side of that, people will say, well, you know, London, they're finished down that bottom end of the table, but with London, yes, they've been there before, but they've obviously got some extraordinary backing at the moment, and they were Darren Lockyer and his consortium. So there's an argument for that. I think in terms of York Knights, I think the proof's in the pudding with them. They deserve to be there because of the way they finished and how they finished their season. I don't know. There's a couple of arguments for the teams, isn't there? But going back to Chris's original question, Bradford's a no-no from me.
Is that the club, the city, the area?
No. Isn't that one that the last city of culture?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
I was thinking more like the club and 𝗀𝗃, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. When I look to away games, I'm going, oh, what's my favourite away ground going to be? Standing on the vast expanse of terracing at 𝗀𝗃, a million miles away from the pitch, in my one that I look forward to the most. But hey, the other thing is IMG brought in a grading criteria. If they've played the game and they've got it right, then that's fair play to them. We'll see how it goes, won't we? It's going to be interesting. 14 teams in Super League next season. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be something different. Hopefully, it just means that the Robins can gain another treble. So we'll see how that goes. Which brings us to question time. And we've got quite a few questions to get through. People obviously wanting to hear our opinions on what people think about the Robins in 2026. We'll start off with Ashley Nags. I think we've already mentioned this, but it says, where do you guys think the World Cup Challenge will be played? Will we play at Craven Park, or do you reckon we should play at Hull City's ground? Bazza, we mentioned it, but we want to see it at Craven Park, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. James, Tom on Facebook, he says, do you think Willie will stay on, or will he be tempted if the right NRL job comes up? The interview I mentioned that he did with SEN League, Jimmy, he's mentioned it a few times now. Look, he wants to manage coach in the NRL. He's contracted to 2028. I fully expect him to see that out. But we've got to have one eye on the future. So what I'm gonna throw another question in there, James, in terms of succession planning. Do you reckon the Robins have got a potential or future head coach within our ranks already?
Thinking Danny Ward?
Well, I do think that there's, I do.
No,
In terms of how the club operates.
I think you're right, because I think the job that Danny Ward did when he was at London, I thought it was phenomenal, given the resources he had and the players he had, they had to get a team that was, I think they competed from what I remember. So then to sort of put him in charge of a squad like Rovers, where he's been, part of that back room that's developed that culture, for me is a possibility. But then by the same token, I think the probably club is where they are now, the position they are now, they can basically pick and choose. They're probably going to have coaches wanting to come to them. If Ivan Cleary fancies coming over to the UK, I'm sure he wants to bring Nathan with him.
That'd be a great double act, wouldn't it? Yeah. Best double act since Cannon and Ball.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's at some point.
It's going to go sometime, isn't it? Sometimes it's inevitable, and it's going to go without, because where he's taking us, we're just going to be. And I think it's testament to him. It's testament to the club that he's being spoken about in those terms of an NRL coach.
Carl Nick Sims on Facebook, he says, do you think it's time to start expanding out of our traditional heartlands and go after new fans outside of East Hull? We've also any plans to expand the current stadium capacity? I think the club are doing as much as they can. We saw that, didn't we, about the Amsterdam Challenge, about trying to expand. Yeah. I think what we can safely say is that the Amsterdam Challenge will not be happening next season. I can't imagine that happening, which is a shame, because it was with good intentions.
So Nick's actually asked two questions there. So the expansion question, obviously we've got the sports village coming up next, don't we? In and around that back of that east stand. So obviously that'll take a couple of years, I'd imagine. And then maybe in the distant future we'll see maybe the main stand, some sort of refurbishment or replacement. So that would probably answer that question. And then what was the other one, Chris? More fans in wider areas?
Don't worry about that. We'll go on to the next one. Adam Wadford says, was Saturday's win... I'll tell you what, James, this one can go for you because you're as old as Steve Phil. Will Saturday's win the best ever Rovers performance in a final, considering the opposition, the magnitude of the game, and everyone writing us off in the media? We didn't just win the game; it was surprisingly comfortable in the end. I mean,
it's hard to say because you're comparing generations, aren't you?
Yeah, I was going to say 1980 was a big win. The pressure that was on
1980 was a big win, but in terms of probably performances, probably what is it when they beat Hull 12-0 in the John Player Boothby Park? That was a pretty special performance.
Yeah, I suppose I get it though, Bazza, because that Bazza, the biggest compliment you could say to this Hull Kingston Rovers side, based on Saturday's win over Wigan, was that they didn't just win, Bazza. They beat them. They actually beat Wigan, and this was a side who were coming into the season on the back of winning 4 trophies. BBC Sports Personality Team of the Year. This was a team who were all conquering. So it was a special performance on Saturday, Bazza.
It was a special performance and one what will go down in history as one of Rovers' greatest ever performances. I dare say competing with the 10-5, 1980, but many of us weren't round for that. So I think for this generation, it's hard to look past that performance against Wigan. Who are dominant, who know how to win a final, and who can bully a team, and for the way we turned up and absolutely destroyed them 24-6 for me. Yeah, that's ideally that is the performance of my generation anyway.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Carl, this is a tough question. Michael Matthews, he says, having won the lot after an incredible season, what do supporters expect for next season as a minimum requirement?
Yeah, well, that's the downfall of success, isn't it? I mean, it's like waiting for a bus, like we've discussed before. You wait 40 years for one trophy and three 10 up at once, don't they? So, and that'll be the downside of the, the fan base. They'll expect this every year now. A lot of the fan base, won't they? And the older heads within that fan base know that's not reality. So, I would probably say silverware of some description next year, whether it be the Challenge Cup again or league leaders. Hey, don't get me wrong; it'd be absolutely wonderful to do the treble again. But you've got to be realistic with these things, haven't you? But yeah, competing for silverware and being in them, the latter stages of the playoffs would be a minimum requirement.
I'll tell you what, I'd be happy, Bazza, if we win the World Club Challenge and we don't win anything else. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, can't knock you there, mate. I think I'd be
but yeah, I mean that's a tough one in itself. But I suppose, James, it's a big expectations were already high. They're going to go through the roof next season, aren't they? Because unless we're pummeling Hull FC, Bradford,
you do that anyway.
Well, yeah, as I say, yeah, that's it. Yeah, but unless like every game's 40-0 and we're winning,
yeah. No,
there's going to be an
area. It is going to be a challenge because obviously you got to bear in mind that other teams when they play Rovers are going to raise the game. You look, back end of the season, the way Wakefield tore us to bits. I know we were off that game, but then took advantage of it. And other teams now we're the team to knock off the pedestal and they're going to raise the game. I think in terms of expectation and where we go, I think if we win the World Championship, then we've obviously matched Wigan in terms of winning a quadruple. So I think for me, if we're not winning the World Championship, then you've got to be looking for me to defend something like the Challenge Cup.
Yeah. I tell you what, it was really interesting, and we haven't got time to talk whether there was more emotion attached to the Challenge Cup final victory than there was the grand final victory, which is a question in itself. Bazza, I'm going to come to you. David Elliston, he says, so if we're going to do something next season, what positions do you think KR need to strengthen in to continue being contenders?
Probably another prop, bit of an enforcer, because we're going to lose a lot with JWH. And I'd say another hooker, but it depends. Like, Jez is an 80-minute hooker. We've got Bill Leyland learning off him, but I think they're the two positions I'd look at. Definitely an enforcer, because we're stacked with back rowers. Obviously, we've got Jack Broadbent who can play a number of positions. We're all right for wingers with Noah Both and Davis and Budgie. So I think another prop with a good engine, and another hooker just in case Bill Leyland's not quite ready for 26.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the club they've kept the cards close to the chest, haven't they, Carl, in terms of recruitment? They've not really come out. We knew Tom Amon, he was announced early on. He came Castleford and then obviously he got injured. We know he's coming in and he's going to be a replacement for Jared Hargreaves, although not a direct replacement in terms of style of play. Jack Charles has then pretty much been confirmed. But then also I've heard rumours on the grapevine that Connor Winner was coming in, is now not coming in because he's been paid off. Junior Sambu from Oldham, he's not coming in now. He's been apparently paid off as well. So there's some movement in the markets, and it'd be interesting to see what happens because the teams can't stand still, can they? You've got to keep improving. And what we've learned under Willie Peters' reign is he does not stand still. This team does not stand still. There's no if he thinks you're not going to play for the next game or next season, he moves you on. And I suppose it's a refreshing ruthlessness but also there'll be probably sentiment attached to some players who do depart, like we've already seen in the past. Ultimately, though, Willie Peters has always been proven right so far.
Yeah, he don't get much wrong, and I'm like we said earlier on. I'm pretty sure he's already thinking about next season and beyond, because that's what he does. He plans very detailed, doesn't he? I mean, what you'll probably find, Chris, is, you know, from experience in the past, I think soon as the Ashes series is out the way, I'm sure you'll hear a few more whispers, and then leading up to Christmas, I'm pretty sure there might be one or two movements and bodies in terms of incomes and outgoings. I think Baz is right in terms of what we do need. I think we need that enforcer replacing in terms of Hargreaves. We know Tolomone's coming in. He's more of a workaholic than an enforcer, so I would expect a prop and then somebody to back Ches Layton up. I think they're probably the two key areas that we need. I think we're pretty much covered in every aspect, and maybe just see a few of the young academy lads maybe get a bit more of a sniff in the next couple of seasons. That's sort of the biggest area I would sort of look at and work on.
Yeah, Glenn Lilly on Instagram, he asked a question about Jack Charles and Conor Wayne, and I think we talked about that. But he does ask a question about James. You would think on the back of a treble-winning season, demand for tickets will increase. So is it time for a permanent south stand? And if so, does Craven Street move to behind the east stand? I don't think that's happening, but I tell you what, there'll never be a bigger time or in terms of people wanting to go watch the Robins. And the biggest thing you can do is sign them up to a season. How are we going to accommodate them is the biggest question, James, I suppose, in terms of getting more supporters into the stadium.
Yeah. And obviously there's a waiting list for passes now, isn't there? So yeah, it's a nice problem to have. I mean, I think it'd be good to sort of maintain that south terrace, the seats that the temporary stand they had in there for the end of season, and maybe just have that available for general sale rather than pass holders. So at least people who don't necessarily are able to commit to a pass or just be able to come and to the odd game. But yeah, it's a difficult challenge we've got, because if you're going to build a new stand, or you're looking at obviously the big investment in it, but obviously then the time to actually construct it, and then the disruption around the rest of the stand, potentially a reduction in capacity. So it's an interesting one.
And I suppose, Carl, like we said, the demand now is through the roof, isn't it? And ultimately, this is the time to be signing people up to season passes, because everybody wants a piece of the Robins. It's Sky Sports keep telling us it's their favourite place to come and film a game. People want to go to introduce new people. This is the time. So I do think that south stand, temporary south stand, might become more of a permanent feature next season to try and get more people in the stadium.
Yeah, I think that stays, and it's like anything in sport. If you're successful, you'll get these new, supporters coming in, and they sort of want to see what it's all about and what plays in Rovers' favour. They're not just doing it on the pitch. It's like a kind of atmosphere with Craven Street, and then they have light shows and all that type of stuff. So people are in the ground 2.5 hours before kickoff, and people make a sort of an evening of it rather than just a couple of hours. And they've literally nailed it right down, down the middle. And sort of said, right, we are the best entertainer in Super League. You'll come and spend money in our stadium. So anybody coming through that gate, whether it's 2 games a season or 27 games a season or whatever it may be, they're definitely in demand, and they're obviously showing that they can cope that demand. So yeah, it's all positive, and long may it continue.
Yeah, and that's a wrap. Cheers, guys. Nearly 2 hours of the Robin Pod, but I make no apologies. When do you ever get to record a podcast on the back of winning 3 trophies in the season and completing the treble? I'm sure there's going to be another Robin Pod very soon. Bazza, I just want to thank you for your contribution. Thank you for tearing yourself away from Sky to bring yourself to Robin Pod. It's always been a pleasure hearing you and seeing your luxury lorry, which is better than most people's houses. James, you've been absolutely fantastic. You've been on the Robin Pod for a long time. Carl, great to have you. I know you've gone to another podcast now with St Helens fans, and I know you're enjoying that. So your reach is getting almost global now. Everyone else has been on the Robin Pod this season.
I'm not sure about global, Chris, but enjoyment, all nonetheless.
Well, global. I mean, past Hull. So when I say global, no, everyone else who's been on the Robin Pod, it's been absolute pleasure. Steve Till, who's absolutely made a fantastic contribution. There will be another Robin Pod very soon. We may even talk about the England games. But wow, what a journey! What a season it's been. The treble winners edition of the Robin Pod. Wow. What a fantastic season it's been. What a team and what a story for Hull Kingston Rovers, from Wembley to Old Trafford, from lifting the Challenge Cup to securing the League Leaders Shield, and now crowned Super League champions. The Robins have written their name in rugby league history for sure. So every supporter who's listened to the Robin Pod, who's been there through the highs and the heartbreaks, this treble truly, truly does belong to you. This Red Army is amazing, and you've waited so long for a moment in time like this. And of course, what's been fantastic this season is how every supporter has got behind the Robins, whether you're in the north, the east, the south, or the well. You have absolutely, or the west seating, you've got behind the boys. We'll be back very soon with more reaction and questions and all the big talking points. But until then, keep flying the red and white flag high. Keep that celery fresh. And remember, we will be there.
Rovers fight as one for every goal and try. Since '85 we've stood our ground, though trophies passed us by. From Craven Park to Wembley Way, with East Hull grip we fight. Now we rise, our heads held high, proudly wearing the red and white.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are reputable East Hull-based car specialists and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members.